Hello everyone, I'm the Sylvan, I've just blown in. And today we are back with more Seduce Me 2, Demon Walls. Last time, had a very bad nightmare, and we decided to start training with our lovely little instructor here, Serio, who was apparently very love-struck with Our Lady Diana. With that said, it is time to jump back into the present, shall we? In a complete reversal, Sadio's expression hardened to a serious stare at me. I nodded, knowing that the break we had was over now. Once more, we trained and continued until dinner rolled around. As the soft echo of dinner-time bells reverberated through the halls of the castle, Sario and I went our separate ways, him to his lady and me to my bedroom. Exhausted and tired, I marched to my room and opened the door, surprised to see Mathew already there. Really? Why are we surprised by that? Huh? Mathew? Okay. This is no bueno. However, what was odd about him being in the room was not that he was there before me, but that he was staring at the fire, eyes glazed over in an almost pale blue tint. Something was going on. Yeah, like, the collar around his neck. I walked over and placed my hand on Matthew's shoulder, slowly walking around him to look directly into his eyes. It was almost creepy to see, but he seemed almost dead. This isn't awkward at all. Mathew? Mathew, ... I gently shook his body, trying to snap him out of whatever trance he was under, but I gasped as I spotted a blue ring around his neck. Oh, he's got a ring around the collar. Boo. As I did, the air around me became colder and a little darker. What was going on? Panicked, I looked around, trying to pin down what was causing this.
Hi.
Yes? You? Mathew's voice brought me back to him, hearing his voice drawl out of his mouth like an emotionless doll. I gripped Mathew's shoulders tightly and shook him again. Mathew! Still nothing. Smack him. You know what? Smack that boy. I didn't want to do it. No, this isn't Sam. Of course I don't. But I had to snap Mathew out of whatever stupor he was under. I bit my lip and shut my eyes. Sorry, sweetie. With a breath, I raised my hand and smacked him across the face, causing him to gasp and the pale blue in his eyes to fade back to normal.
Hey! Ow!
Welcome back to Not Being Creepy World, sweetie. Mathew gripped his cheek and stared at the ground before looking up at me in shock, as if he had been stirred awake. Mathew, are you all right? You were spacing out like no tomorrow. Remembering the dull tint in his eyes almost creeped me out. The way his voice came out of his mouth only added to the creep factor of the situation. I wasn't sure what got a hold of him, but I broke him out of it at least. Where is Simon? Why wasn't Simon, prodding, stabbing you to get you out of that? Mathew rubbed his cheek and stared at me like I had suddenly grown 3 heads. I should check. Do I still have just the one? Why? I furrowed my eyebrows as he replied.
Yeah, I'm fine. I was just looking at the fire. It's pretty warm.
Well, you can take off your jacket, sweetie. Every part of me didn't believe him. And again, something was wrong, and maybe Mathew was becoming a victim of it. I frowned and kept his cheek, making him lean into it slightly. You sure? You looked like you were possessed. Mathew furrowed his eyebrows, unsure of what I meant. Did he really not remember? I now became concerned, desperate to know answers. Why was he acting so strangely? Mathew took my hands in his and held them gently, rubbing his thumb over the tops of my hands.
Hey, is everything all right?
No, clearly. I just slapped you. Unless, that's what we're into these days, but didn't dawn on me as he'd be the type to like spankings. I almost glared. That was what I had asked him. I wasn't crazy. Well, I knew that something was off, and I had to try to figure out what. I squeezed Matthew's hands instead. Mathew, I'm serious. You were staring at the fire and your eyes just looked glazed and stuff. Whoa, I am so eloquent, y'all. Pressing his lips together, he looked down, trying to discern what I meant, as if he didn't do what I had suggested he did. I pulled his hands, now worried. I didn't want him to assume I was making things up. Okay, look, we're in a place that's pretty magic heavy. If he cannot trust you when you say, hey, weird shit is happening, maybe you shouldn't be getting married. You believe me, right? Mathew stared into my eyes, reading them as he nodded.
I do. I do. I don't know how to respond. I mean, I don't remember being in a trance.
Well, that's why it's a trance. As he said that, however, he suddenly curled over and held his head, hissing in pain. Mathew? Quickly, Mathew collapsed onto his knees and gripped his head, digging his fingers into his hair as I followed him down. Now I knew for sure. Something was definitely wrong. I cupped Mathew's face, trying to figure out what was wrong with him just from sight. A moment passed before Mathew let out a gasp of breath, opening his eyes wide and panting for some fresh air to enter his lungs. His eyes painted his fear, as if he had just encountered a nightmare within the moment that passed. Well, he might have. Mathew, what happened? Mathew wouldn't speak, furrowing his brows and shaking his head.
I heard someone calling to me.
Calling to you. For a moment, I believed it to be his mother. Maybe he was hearing what I heard in the human world. But why didn't I hear it anymore? It made no sense. Mathew shook his head and gritted his teeth.
It sounded like my mother. But how could she...
We are in the demon world. I took Mathew's hands and held them to my chest, catching his attention. Hey, let's go ask the others about this. Finally, I remember I'm smart and I have allies. It's not too late to go talk to them. Mathew suddenly shook his head and took his hands from mine, grasping my shoulders.
It's all right, really.
No.
I don't need their help.
Yes, you
We
do.
can figure this out on our own.
No, we seriously can't. We're not smart enough. Mathew. I had a really bad feeling about the situation. Good, I have some survival instinct. Mathew was getting put in trances, then getting headaches and hearing his mother's voice. Why was he so reluctant to get help from his brothers? Valid question, me. Insist, okay. Fine, I'll respect your boundaries. In theory. Mathew seemed to be adamant. I swallowed my nerves and nodded slowly, taking in a breath and letting out a sigh. Mathew leaned forward and kissed my forehead, thankful that I was willing to trust him. However, I wasn't the issue. I trusted Mathew very much. What I didn't trust was whatever was trying to influence him and hurt him. I didn't just want to leave this in the dark, and I didn't want us to hit a wall with this that could potentially hurt Mathew more, or make him do something even more odd. Yeah, like putting me in cages. I grimaced before standing up, helping Mathew up. Come on, let's head to bed. Mathew nodded, agreeing that, right now, sleep was something we probably needed. I led Mathew to the bed and helped him in, cuddling up to him and laying my head on his shoulder. Mathew?
Yeah?
Are you sure you'll be okay? I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not okay.
I'm sure. I promise, I'll figure this out in no time.
I nodded once more before closing my eyes. I had to let him try. If all else failed, I could go to the others for help, but not unless it became dangerous. It's already... Ugh! For every moment of competency, my character must backpedal 20 paces. Still, something felt wrong about this entire situation. First, there was something wrong with me, and now there was something wrong with Mathew? We had to the worst luck. Well, you're not wrong. I expected the night to take me away into the world of slumber, but was quietly awoken by Simon poking me in the side with his knife. Gosh darn it, my delinquent son, I need sleep. What? I looked down at my side to see Simon waving his arms and pointing at the door, revealing it to be partially open with a familiar red eye peeking through it. I stared, suddenly wide-eyed, but Diana didn't move from her spot, knowing I spotted her. Did she want me to go over there? Simon pulled at my hand, wanting me to go, so I snuck out of Mathew's arms and crept to the door, causing Diana to back away from it and give me the space I needed to leave the room. Diana?
Is everything all right?
No, thing's bad. Huh? Where was this coming from? I furrowed my eyebrows. What do you mean? Nightmare? Fiancé trances? Let's just tell the queen what the fuck is going on. Diana pressed her lips together and looked into the room for a moment, before looking back at me with a serious expression.
I was doing my usual routine around the castle, and felt somewhat of a disturbance in the air. Like something was trying to make contact with someone here. It was a weak wave, but...
What surface were you having sex on when this happened? I stared, surprised. Someone was really trying to contact Mathew? Yeah, we covered this, his mom. I became overjoyed to know that I was simple enough. Diana tilted her head at me, seeing my expression.
What? Did something happen?
Yeah. Before I opened my mouth to speak, however, Mathew's plea echoed in my head. He wanted me to trust him. If I told Diana, I'd ruin his trust for me. Yeah. Does kind of boil down to it, doesn't it? I merely bit my lip, shaking my head. No, I'm just surprised is all. Diana raised an eyebrow at me, but didn't budge. I didn't want to be the one saying anything until Mathew needed me to. Yeah, I disagree, but... Despite it fighting against every moral code in my body, I had to put some trust in Mathew. Do I? Eventually, Diana nodded before turning to leave.
I apologize for disturbing your sleep. Please, have a good night.
You too, lady. I hope you get all the energy from stereo that you need. With that, Diana left me alone in the hall. I stared, mildly flabbergasted at the fact that she simply let it go. She has bigger fish than me, quite frankly. However, would she look into it more? I had to admit, I hoped so. I returned to Mathew's arms that night, hoping that everything would be okay. But as the player character, kind of knowing it's not. The morning was unkind as I woke and yawned, feeling drowsiness still consume my mind and force it back to sleep. However, I had to train today, and so did Mathew. I mean, do we? We could just take a nap, right? Speaking of Mathew... I turned my head to see Mathew rubbing his eyes, waking up alongside me. However, he grumbled, let me know that the night was not kind to him. Didn't he make this whole big deal of demons don't need to sleep? They're too paranoid to?
Is it morning already?
I nodded and gently leaned down, kissing Mathew's forehead. That seemed to lighten his mood as a happy smile danced across his lips, and he let out a happy sigh.
Good morning.
Good morning indeed. Morning. I smiled as I hovered over Matthew's face, seeing his beautiful blue eyes gaze into my eyes through the blur of sleep. With a sweet, infectious smile, Matthew reached a hand up and cupped my cheek.
You're so pretty. You know that?
Aw, you're so cute. I fought a blush creeping up my face. The way he said it so casually made my heart flutter, and had me forgetting about the world around us. It was like we were in our own little universe for a short moment of time. I nuzzled his head and giggled. I didn't want the day to roll on to us getting ready to separate and train just yet. I wanted to sit back with Mathew and enjoy our time alone. No problems, no danger, just us. That's a fair enough assessment. Yeah, take your moments when you can. Mathew grew a small smirk before snaking his arms around me and pulling me against his chest, making me gasp and grab onto his shoulders, not wanting to crush him with my weight. Oh, come on, we're not that thick. However, Mathew smiled and squeezed me close.
No nightmare last night, huh?
Well, Diane and our delinquent son kind of woke me up. As he said it, I realized it. There was indeed no nightmare for me last night. I had a peaceful, dreamless night. I suddenly smiled and looked down at Mathew with a happy nod. Yeah, no nightmare. I had a good sleep. Mathew chuckled before leaning up and kissing me softly. Just enough for me to feel it, but as he pulled away, I became curious of his own night. What about you? A valid question. Mathew's smile faltered a bit as I asked, but shook his head slightly and gained a smile back.
It was rough. I woke up a couple of times, but that was pretty much it.
Didn't you make this whole big spiel about demons don't need to sleep? There was more to the story, but I had to let it go. No, follow-up question. If you wanted me to trust him, then I had to at the full extent of my heart. Yeah, trust him with your heart, but use your fucking brain, girl. I nodded and planted a light feather-like kiss on his nose, making him chuckle beneath his breath. So what's the plan for you?
Well, I figured I could skip some training and just spend some time with you.
Interesting, but what makes you think I want to give up my day of training? With a playful smirk, I grabbed the nearby pillow and gently bounced it on him, making him flail a bit.
Hey!
Come on, if you can't fend off a pillow, you're not ready. You know training is important, Mathew. Mathew smirked and rolled us both over to have him on top of me, bouncing his own pillow on me. Yeah!
I can totally train with you in a never-ending pillow fight!
And Mathew, buddy, grow up. We got adult work to do. Oh, it was on! I quickly grabbed my pillow and swung it at Mathew, landing on target and causing him to roll off of me. With a grin, I arched my body in the position direction, hoping to land another hit on him, but Mathew quickly ducked and swung his pillow at me, hitting me with a soft, fluffy impact.
Gotcha!
Boo. The battle became intense as soon we were doubled fisting pillows. What now? Trying to whack each other with our chosen weapons, while also avoiding the fireplace, the bench, and truly anything that looked expensive around, which I think is everything in this room. Everything looks pricey. Regardless, we were immersed in our own world, duking it out with our feathers and cloth as we lost track of time. We barely even noticed the door open.
What's going on in...
Hi, Dee. As Diana's voice rang through the air, I gasped in surprise and looked over to see the succubus holding 2 plates with stacks of pancakes on them. Ooh, pancakes. I like pancakes. They're awesome. What frightened me and Diana was a sudden knife chucking itself in Diana's direction causing her to sidestep and letting the knife rake through the stack, effectively nailing the pancakes to the wall beside her. I kind of want to see that. Whoa.
Hey!
Agreed. Diana looked to Mathew, seeing him panting and posed in mid-throw. His eyes flashed back and forth between gold and blue, glaring hard at Diana, most likely in surprise from her sudden entrance. Sweetie? Bit of an overreaction. And, once again, I was taken away from my fantasy and brought back to reality. Diana snarled and practically slammed the 2 plates she was holding onto the table, glaring daggers at Mathew. Sweetie, apologize right now.
What in the 7 hells was that about?
Agreed. Diana! No, Mathew. Anger on wrong person. As Diana took a step forward, Mathew suddenly shook his head and realized who was approaching him, and who he essentially attacked, causing him to step back and place his hands in front of him. Yes, placate.
Whoa, hold on!
Defend Mathew. You know what? I'm gonna stay out of this. You want to be a big boy and handle this? You got it. I didn't want to become a target of Diana's wrath. Understandable. Besides, Mathew pulled the knife on her. Exactly. He had to explain his actions, not me. True. Diana marched towards him, bearing her glare into a frightening gaze.
Explain yourself!
Agreed. You just kinda tried to kill your queen. Frantic, Mathew clapped his hands together, bowing his head and breaking the stare contest between them.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. I thought it was an attacker and...
Yeah, we didn't mean to kill you in your own castle.
An attacker in my home? They would be dead before they even set foot through the gates!
There was a demon that got in here, Diana. Just saying. I looked to Mathew, see him grit his teeth and press his hands together hard, trying to gain some form of forgiveness from the succubus, who seemed to want his throat cut open. And I don't blame Diana in this case. She has enough shit to deal with. Diana snarled quietly before slapping his hand away and gripping his chin, making him stare up at her. How about you keep your hands off my guy, sweetie? You got your own. Go away. I'm not sharing.
The next time you dare to attack me will be the last time you feel your heart beating in your chest.
Exactly. Now, this is why we don't attack queens in their castle. With a threatening scowl, Diana pushed Mathew back and away from her, causing her to turn away and walk towards the exit of the room. I, however, rushed to Mathew, catching him before he tripped on his own feet.
Eat, then get to training. Don't waste time.
Yes, ma'am. Diana finally left, leaving me and Mathew lost in our own space once again. This time, we were awake and aware of what was going on, mildly ashamed of the delusions we placed ourselves in before the sudden surprise from Diana. Mathew rubbed his head, looking to the floor.
Man, I really screwed up.
Yeah, you did. Not to rub salt in that wound. Don't say anything, comfort him. You know what? I'm not gonna say anything. You know you did bad. I know you did bad. We're done for the day, right? You're gonna go train. I'm gonna go train. We're gonna have fun. Also, I'm not eating the wall pancake. You get that one, okay? As much as I wanted to comfort him, he mildly deserved the warning. He had threatened Diana's life because he simply was surprised. He already had enough problems. He didn't need to make any more. Mathew let out a sigh, slumping his shoulders before shaking his head.
Alright, let's just eat and go.
Yeah, we got shit to do. I'm numbs. Mathew and I turned to our breakfast and ate what we could, with Mathew taking the plate he managed to attack. Thank you, sweetie. The pancakes almost slipped off the knife that was still embedded in the wall, causing Mathew to run and catch it in his empty plate. Aw, good catch. He didn't eat it, and merely left it there, avoiding it like it had some sort of poison in it. Diana does not dawn on me as the poison type. We eventually separated train, letting the day roll on. I went to the grand hall, knowing Serio would either be there, expecting me, or would arrive there shortly after me. Nevertheless, I was ready to train again with him. Woo! Priorities! What I didn't expect was seeing Serio and Diana in the room. I quickly ducked back around the corner and listened, not wanting to disturb them if they were talking.
That damn little... How dare she?
What now? I have a feeling they're talking about us.
My lady, please, calm down.
Exactly. Chill. Wait, what? What was going on?
No, Zero, it is not all right. That selfish brat had the nerve to...
Agreed. And we're sorry.
Zaire, please. I'm all right, I swear.
What now?
Stop talking and let me finish.
Okay. Diana's harsh tone echoed through the hall out of the doorway before a soft sigh followed. I peered around the corner and watched as Diana ran her hand along Serio's cheek gingerly, tracing a mark on it with her fingers. Radiant purple light emanated from her hand as Diana glided it back and forth over Serio's skin. Serio, however, had a small smile painted over his lips as he watched her work.
Damn her to the deepest pits of hell.
What now?
You're being too harsh, my lady.
What happened exactly?
Muskaya is being a selfish brat, Zero. I saved her from dying, and this is how she repays me? Ungrateful little...
Who now is Busakia? I didn't understand what was happening. Hey, par for course! But I could tell there was another woman involved. Someone named Busika? However the heck it's pronounced. What was really odd was that Diana was acting... strange. Yeah, she was kind of acting like a jealous girlfriend, but to be fair, she just had a knife thrown at her. I don't mind her being rattled, with the one person she can probably be vulnerable with. She was upset over something a girl did to Serio. It was kind of cute, but it was not what I expected from Diana. Why, she is not allowed to have a boyfriend?
You're being adorable right now.
Aw, she is. Diana suddenly stopped moving and looked up at Serio in surprise. A large blush splashed across her cheeks. Serio, growing bolder, gently lifted a hand up between them and placed it under her chin, lifting her head slightly. Aww, look at you two being cute.
I promise that I'm all right. She barely scratched me.
See, he's fine. At least she's not talking about me.
But she...
Loves her mistress very much, just like I do. She couldn't help
Aww.
it. I did try to surprise you, after all. She was startled and wanted to protect you, just like I
Aww.
would have.
Diana grumbled, pressing her lips into a fine line as she stared down at his chest.
She still attacked you.
I know, right? That bitch.
Which I'm sure she's very sorry for. Let it go.
Wow, 2 people in one morning tried attacking her. Huh. That can't be a good sign. Serio moved his hand to cup Diana's cheek, rubbing his thumb along her cheekbone. Diana closed her eyes, but didn't lean into his hand.
You know, you didn't yell at me for saying your name.
Aww.
My priority was not correcting you.
Aww. She likes it.
You were concerned about me.
Aww. Diana and Serio sitting in a tree.
Yes, I was. Why wouldn't I be?
Aww. Serio frowned a bit as Diana opened her eyes and looked up at him, trying to appear unfazed by his teasing. However, the blush that still radiated from her face didn't lie.
Why are you concerned about me, Zaire? You've protected me my whole life when it's my job to protect you.
Because she likes you, duh. Diana, dot.
You didn't correct me again.
because I think she knows she has an audience. Silence followed as Serio waited for her to answer. I was curious myself. Actually, I really am. Especially since she seemed to not reciprocate Serio's feelings. Oh, I've seen different verses. Diana closed her eyes and took a small breath before finally replying.
I care about you, Sero.
Aww.
You've been by my side ever since we were mere children. Every time you've gotten hurt,
You... Yes, go on. Caused it. Felt bad. What do you mean? Use your words. I watched in awe as Diana brought her hand up and ran her fingers along the scar on his chest, between the lapels of his jacket. Yeah, I've actually been a little curious as to what that scar is, how it happened, what does it mean, where did it come from? But, the game really did not give me the opportunity to ask. Serio stared as Diana traced around it, her face painted in sadness.
I know you vowed to protect me with your life, but that doesn't mean you must accept every wound on your body as insignificant.
Uh-huh. Okay. Serio ... Diana closed her eyes, forming a fist against Serio's chest and clenching it hard. The scar must have had some significance to make her that upset. It is a pretty significant scar, to be fair. I bit my lower lip. I was watching this unfold, unsure of what to do. Should I leave them be? Should I interrupt? I did have to train. Exactly, it is time for edumacation. Gosh darn it. I'm gonna break the moment and step in. Hi, you two. I just got here. Dee, what are you doing here? I had to train. I couldn't hide forever, and who knew how long this would take? Yeah, Dee, fuck off. I got shit to do. I took a breath before turning the corner and stepping into the room, breaking the silence of the room with my footsteps.
I should.
Yeah, I'm here to vag block you like a tampon. Scoot. Diana looked up at Serio before shaking her head, making Serio frown even deeper. Oh, girl, why'd you break his heart? Boo.
I should go.
Yes,
the
you should.
Incubi will be waiting for me if they're not already training.
Yep. Go get to work, lady. Kicked my boyfriend's butt extra hard today. Without a second look, Diana turned on her heel and walked away, leaving the room. Bye. Serio watched as she left, staring at the back of her head until it vanished beyond the doorframe. I looked over and finally walked towards Serio, not wanting to interrupt his gaze with my presence. I mean, I can't compete with that.
She really can't see it.
She really can't. So, how long have you two been, totally in love with each other? Sarah? Serio finally turned back and looked at me with eyes drawn in hopelessness. It was almost heartbreaking to see his face so heavy and downtrodden. He seemed to have completely confided in me this new expression, because I was positive that this was an emotion he hid very well from most everyone. Serio finally looked to the ground.
My lady doesn't understand love.
No.
She's always been told that love for her is impossible because of who she is, no matter how much she dreams of it. Because of that, she can't recognize it, even when it's standing right in front of her.
Oh, okay, new plan. We're gonna blow off training, and we're gonna hook you two crazy kids up. And this does actually explain a lot when you're doing the boys' paths, and Diana's just out there to be a protagonist. She does not understand you have genuine affection for this person. Instead, that person is just her means to a goal. That is honestly really good character development and really kind of heartbreaking. There has to be a way. Don't say anything. That's her loss. You know what? It is not my place to talk about your relationship. You got this? You'll figure it out. We gotta train. I really couldn't say anything about it. Their relationship was not my concern, as heartless as that sounded. All I wanted was to defeat the Demon Lord and go home. Hashtag priorities. Must get married. Hashtag Broadzilla. I felt a little bad. I mean, did I really? But I knew where my priorities were. Yes, solely on me. After a brief moment, Serial let out a sigh, closing his eyes. He turned to me, and when he opened his eyes, my relentless trainer had appeared with a serious look on his face. Without having to say anything to me, he stepped back and summoned his spear. Finally, we're starting again. That was a fast turnaround. Really, is it? He does know he has a job to do, and we are kind of at war, and there is very much a ticking clock. He placed a foot behind him and prepared himself into a stance. Wait, wasn't he going to materialize my weapons? How was I... didn't we train, how me to summon sword? Might be useful. Serio suddenly charged at me, making me screech and dodge out of the way. What was he doing? Sero?
What are you waiting for? Summon your weapons!
You didn't show me that yesterday. What? Girl, just do what he says. He wasn't being serious, right? You expect me to use magic? That was impossible. We're in the demon world. Why is it impossible? As I managed to duck and dodge his attacks, my fingertips began to tingle. Energy rushed through my veins and under my skin, tickling my nerves. It was unnatural, but somehow I felt comfortable with it. Wait, am I a wizard? Fuck yeah! Was this truly magic at work? Or was I just nervous, not wanting to be skewered? Little both. I'm gonna try, and oh, hello, timer. You're back. I had to try. I jumped away from Stereo and quickly closed my eyes. Focusing on my hands, I needed my weapon. With my hands formed a handle and a lavender mist. It glistened before finally shifting and forming into the sword I was used to. Gripping it and feeling it physically in my hand, I smirked and turned back to Stereo, bracing for another attack. I got this. Whoop! I'm going to parry, because I did well with that yesterday. I jumped forward and swung my sword against his spear, and pushed the blade away from me. With a loud clash, the spear was pushed to the side, leaving him open. Like a repeated memory, I attacked him, clashing my weapon with his multiple times. The chime of our weapons smashing against each other rang through the room, a sound almost piercing in my mind. It wasn't a noise I was ever going to be used to. I don't know, I think with enough time you would get used to it. Aw, we trained all day, it's nighttime. Like the last time, we trained for hours on end, stopping once or twice for a break. However, I could feel my body slowly getting used to the feel of swinging a weapon and defending myself. At least I would be prepared in case something were to happen. As the sun began to set and the purple sky began to darken, we stopped once again for a third and most likely final break. Sayo stretched and let out a yawn as I did the same. I think I'm getting used to this. Am I really? A chuckle escaped Serio's throat as he rose from one of his stretches. What stopped both of us from laughing was an echoed conversation in the hall, softly reverberating into the room. Huh?
Are you sure? Another kingdom wants to join the rebellion?
Sounds awesome.
It would seem so. Diana isn't happy about it, though.
Really? You think you'd want all the allies she can get?
Why not? The leader of that kingdom is so handsome!
Ah, okay. Problem.
He was indeed. But an alliance through marriage?
Ah, okay. Point taken. She kind of already has someone she likes.
Oh, come on! You can't tell me I'm the only one who can see it! I can see them being a beautiful king and queen!
'Cause what matters is how pretty you are together. Not, common interest, a shared history, things in common.
I don't think she will marry him, despite it being a wise choice.
Well, fingers crossed, she deserves better.
She would be stupid not to.
Faye, shut the fuck up.
Well, the last time she signed her life away to marriage, her entire family was killed off while she was
Yeah,
away.
valid point, Rabbit.
I don't think she could ever let marriage control her again.
Nor should she. She is a badass. She doesn't need a king at her side. I would argue, yes, she needs someone, but she has that already.
I guess. Man, the only person she has now is that guard.
Yeah, that awesome guard with holy magic. Bitch, I don't like you. My curiosity took hold of me and caused me to hug the wall near the door, listening in further. Serio, however, remained where he was, looking toward the ground. Oh, I just want to give him a hug. That has to be heartbreaking.
I wonder how they met. He's not an incubus, but he's mega powerful.
Well, have you ever, I don't know, tried asking?
He is indeed very skilled. I'm slightly jealous of her for having such a devoted guard.
Yeah, devoted, air quotes.
Devoted? He's crazy! I've heard them talk in private before. He keeps saying that he's in love with her. Love!
Okay, I want to go in the hall and punch Faye in the face. Who's with me? Show of hands. Also, I could watch around and give Serio the biggest hug right now, because he needs it. He is getting emotional gut punches left and right here. Serio, ...
That is very odd. However, I wouldn't be surprised if her natural aura has affected him after years of servitude. I believe he's been with her since they were children, so that's over 100 years of protecting her and being close.
Yeah, they grew up together, the childhood best friends. And really, if you're actually going to talk marriage, you probably should be looking to marry your best friend, as cliched as that sounds.
Yeah! He's probably just enthralled by her. She enthralls everyone she meets.
Well, Faye kinda has a point there, but I don't think it's enthrallment. This genuinely feels like two equals respecting each other.
A pure-blooded succubus will do that. At least she's the only pure-blooded demon of Lilith in the world.
Huh, interesting. You think there would be some more?
That we know of at least.
Exactly. The conversation trailed off as the pair moved away from the room. I looked back at Serio, staring at him grip his spear and grit his teeth. He didn't seem to like what Rabbit and Faye had to say. I don't blame him. I kinda want to go punch Faye in the face. Serio? Serio, ... Don't say anything, or are you okay? Okay, I'm gonna let you feel your feelings, and I'm gonna back off. So I'm not gonna say anything, but I super want to give him a hug. The look on his face made it obvious that he needed a moment to himself. I waited patiently until he finally took a breath and smiled at me. Oh, you don't have to be brave.
Let's just continue, shall we?
I just want you to be happy. I nodded, taking up my weapon again and preparing for our final sparring match. And on that note, I am going to call the session to a close. Until next, Taklikatelo Kedo.